Hey, you're watching Skritter.
And let's do yoga and Chinese together.
Today we're gonna learn yoga terms in Chinese. Why? Because Ma Lao Shi is not just a Chinese teacher.
I'm also a yoga teacher and a certified personal trainer.
So we're so lucky to have Ma Lao Shi with us. Let's go to the gym to do some yoga.
Let's go.
Now that we're in the yoga room, let's learn, number one, some common poses of yoga in Chinese, and number two, some common phrases that you'll hear when you're doing yoga or when you're attending a yoga class. We apologize for the echo. It's obviously a gym room. There's a bit of an echo. But first, Ma Lao Shi, can you tell us some common yoga poses? Maybe we can start with maybe your favorite yoga pose?
Sure, so some of the common, very common poses include the mountain pose, Shan Shi.
Shan Shi, as in mountain pose. So this Shi, I think we're going to hear a lot, right? And I think it means like style or pose. So now that we've learned mountain pose, I know that there's lots of other yoga poses that are inspired by nature, whether it's moon, whether it's the sun. How about some of those yoga poses?
So I think one of the things that most people know is the sun salutation, and it's a sequence of poses, and in Chinese we call it 拜日式.
拜日式, so to pray to the sun style. How about poses to do with the moon?
The moon? Sure, so there are a couple, and my favorite is the half moon pose, and it's called 半月式.
半月式, literally the half moon pose.
Exactly.
A lot of my favorite poses, Ma Lao Shi, are the ones to do with animals, because I can't really imagine being a mountain, but I can really imagine being like a cat or a cow.
So what's your favorite?
I like going between cat and cow, and then finally doing the cobra.
The cobra? Sure.
How do we say that in Chinese?
Sure, so a cat pose is 猫式.
猫式.
And a cow pose is 牛式.
Okay, so very literal. So also
Exactly.
like it is in English, cat pose, 猫式, cow pose, 牛式, and then how about cobra?
Cobra, 眼镜蛇式.
as in the snake that wears the glasses.
Glasses, right, exactly. 眼镜蛇式.
As always, we'll have a much more extensive list of yoga poses at skritter.com/vocab list. So today we're just talking about some of our favorites and kind of the more interesting ones translation-wise.
Sure.
I know in yoga there's a lot of people. What I mean, like there's the warrior, there's the baby, there's the happy baby.
Exactly.
How do we say these in Chinese?
So for basic warrior poses, we call it 勇士. So warrior 1, 勇士1.
And then warrior 2.
勇士2.
And then I quite like the warrior pose because I really get like, I feel strong.
Yeah, you feel strong, right?
How about baby pose or child's pose?
Sure, so a child's pose, we actually call it 婴儿式.
But there's a difference between a baby and a happy baby?
Right, so in yoga there's child's pose and happy baby pose. Happy baby pose we call it 快乐婴儿式.
And finally, I'd like to ask Ma Lao Shi about my favorite yoga pose. It never used to be my favorite, but now it is, and that's the downward dog. How do we say that?
So we say 下犬式.
So 犬 is another word that we'll hear for canines. Often we hear go or go. But actually the more technical term for dogs you would say is 犬 or canines, and that's why it's 下犬式. And there's not just downward dog, there's upward dog?
Yes, upper facing dog. 上犬式.
So 下犬式, 上犬式. Now that we've learned some of the most common yoga poses in Chinese, let's talk about what you might hear in a classroom. Because often that's kind of the biggest barrier to doing a yoga class in Chinese, because you're not quite sure what the teacher is saying.
Exactly.
Let's start with a very, very basic idea, rather, of yoga. And I think that's breathing, right?
Exactly. Breathing is one of the most important things.
How do we say this in Chinese?
呼吸.
No. So it almost sounds like that. If you're breathing in, you can almost imagine 吸, 吸, and then 呼, 呼. So actually, if your teacher wants to say inhale and exhale, how would they do that?
So inhale is 吸气.
I don't know why I'm doing this.
That's exactly what, yeah.
And then how do we say exhale?
Exhale is 吐气 or 呼气. Exactly.
Okay. Often I find myself, my shoulders are very tight, and I often find my yoga teacher telling me to relax. How do we say that in Chinese?
放松. 放松.
放松. Often your yoga teacher will give you lots of directional instructions. Let's cover first quickly the directions. You can 往前, 往后, 往上, 往下, 往左, 往右. And let's combine that with maybe like a stretch. How do you say stretch in Chinese?
So stretch, we say 伸展.
伸展. My yoga teachers often tell me to tense my core or kind of focus on the core. Yes, that's it. Engage the core. How do we say that in Chinese?
缩紧下腹.
Okay, so kind of to contract and tighten the lower abdomen. Can we have that one more time?
缩紧下腹.
Now that we've engaged our core, I often hear my yoga teachers telling me to engage all other parts of my body, like my hips. How do I say that?
So hips are your glute. It's called 臀部.
臀部. Now that we've covered kind of the directional stuff, engaging different body parts, often you'll hear like, bend your knees softly. How do you say that in Chinese?
Right, so for knees, it's called 膝盖.
膝盖, so that's the knees.
And then soft bend, we'll say 微弯.
Okay, so 微 is like a micro or a tiny little bend, right? 微弯. How about if the yoga teacher wants me to bend all the way forwards?
All the way forward, we'll say 前弯.
前弯. So 微弯 is a soft bend, and this can be of any joint. And a 前弯 is when you're literally bending forwards.
Exactly.
And finally, let's talk about some more colloquial terms of movement. And what I mean by that, a lot of the terms that we've covered before, you can kind of understand through direct, kind of literal translations. There are a couple of terms that are more colloquial, such as arching your back, such as straightening your back, that when you first encounter the term might not seem as straightforward, but not to worry, we'll cover them now. So when I first heard to straighten my back, I was a little bit confused. Could you first give us the term, Malashi?
Sure, so straighten or lengthen your back, 打直.
It's straight.
Right, exactly. And your back is 背, 背打直.
背打直. Could I also say that for my legs?
Sure, 脚打直.
Okay. 背打直, 脚打直. And I also talked about arching my back. How do we say that?
拱背.
Actually, now that you've said it, it's still quite straightforward. 拱 is an arch, right? So
Right.
拱背.
拱背.
And then finally, I find that a lot of the yoga poses that I'm doing, you're always going back to all fours.
Right,
How do we say
exactly.
that in Chinese?
So in all fours, we call it 四足跪姿.
四足跪姿.
Quite a word, right?
Yeah, exactly. The four limbs kneeling position.
Exactly. That's what it is. So I hope after this class you have the confidence to take a yoga class in Chinese. Don't be afraid.
It's a great way to make friends, speak some Chinese with your peers, and get fit as well. Finally, if you guys enjoyed this video, do subscribe to our channel and give the video a thumbs up. Finally,
Namaste.
I'm like, namaste home, you know what I mean?